Princess Vera stood tall on the command deck of her massive warship, watching the small blue planet grow larger on the viewing screen. Her purple skin gleamed under the bright lights, and her 4 arms moved with practiced grace as she reviewed the tactical reports. The third planet of this system looked peaceful from space, but Vera knew better than to trust appearances. "Your Highness," Commander Zek approached with his usual military stride. His grey uniform bore the golden symbols of the Krillian Empire, marking him as one of Vera's most trusted officers. "The scouts have returned from the human world. They bring interesting news." Vera turned her large silver eyes toward him. "Speak freely, Commander. What have our forces discovered about these creatures called humans?" Zek activated a holographic display showing images of the planet's surface. Cities sprawled across continents, and strange vehicles moved through the air and across the land. "The humans appear to be a warrior species, Princess. Our intelligence shows they have fought countless wars throughout their history. They consume the flesh of other creatures and have weapons capable of destroying their entire world." As expected, Vera replied, her voice cold and confident. "Another savage race that knows only violence and destruction. They will submit to our empire like all the others, or they will face the consequences." The Krillian Empire had conquered 12 star systems in the past century. Each time, they had encountered species that seemed powerful but ultimately fell to superior Krillian tactics and technology. Vera had learned from her father the Emperor that strength came from decisive action and overwhelming force. Mercy was weakness, and weakness led to defeat. "There is more, Your Highness," Zek continued. "Our scouts engaged a small human research vessel near the outer edge of this system. The ship was damaged and could not escape. We have captured its crew." Vera's eyes brightened with interest. "Excellent. Bring the prisoners to the interrogation chamber. I wish to study these humans before we begin the conquest of their world." "Actually, Princess, there was only one survivor. The others perished when their ship was damaged. The single human is being held in detention cell 7. One prisoner will be sufficient for our needs," Vera decided. "Prepare the interrogation equipment. I want to understand how these creatures think before we face them in battle." 20 minutes later, Vera walked through the corridors of her flagship toward the detention level. Her personal guards followed at a respectful distance, their energy weapons ready for any threat. The ship hummed with activity as thousands of Krillian soldiers prepared for the upcoming invasion. The detention level was quieter, with thick metal walls designed to contain the most dangerous prisoners. Vera approached cell 7 and looked through the transparent barrier at the human inside. The creature was smaller than she had expected. It sat calmly on the simple bed, reading from a small electronic device. The human had short brown hair and wore a blue uniform that appeared to be some kind of scientific outfit rather than military armor. When it noticed her watching, the human stood and walked to the barrier. "Good morning," the human said in perfect Krillian language. "I assume you are someone important, based on the guards and the formal uniform. My name is Ben. I am a scientist from the research vessel Aurora." Vera was surprised by the calm tone and polite greeting. She had expected anger, fear, or threats of violence. Instead, this human named Ben seemed genuinely interested in making conversation. "I am Princess Vera of the Krillian Empire," she replied formally. "You are our prisoner, human. Your vessel trespassed in our territory, and now you will answer our questions about your species and your military capabilities." Ben nodded thoughtfully. "I understand your position, Princess. Before we begin, may I ask about my crewmates? I know the ship was badly damaged, but I hope some of them survived the attack." "Your companions are dead," Vera stated bluntly, watching for the expected violent reaction. Ben's face showed sadness, and he closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, there was grief there, but no rage or hatred. "I am sorry to hear that. They were good people who only wanted to study the stars and learn about the universe. May I know how they died? Were they killed in the fighting, or did they die from their injuries?" This response confused Vera greatly. The human showed sorrow for his dead companions, but he asked about their deaths with the tone of someone seeking understanding rather than revenge. Every other species the Krillians had encountered responded to loss with either terror or fury. They died when your ship was damaged, Vera answered. Our weapons caused a power failure that led to life support problems. Thank you for telling me, Ben said quietly. I hope their deaths were quick and without pain. Vera gestured for her guards to open the cell. You will come with me to the interrogation chamber. You will answer our questions about human military strength and planetary defenses. I will be happy to answer what questions I can, Ben replied as he stepped out of the cell. Though I should mention that I am a civilian scientist, not a military officer. My knowledge of human defenses is quite limited. As they walked through the corridors, Vera noticed that Ben looked around with curiosity rather than fear. He examined the architecture and technology with the interest of someone genuinely fascinated by new discoveries. Your ship is impressive, Ben commented. The energy distribution system appears to be far more advanced than anything we have developed. How do you manage to power something this large while maintaining such efficient operation? You ask questions like a spy seeking military intelligence, Vera accused. Not at all, Ben replied with a slight smile. I am asking because I am a scientist, and this represents technology beyond our current understanding. From a pure research perspective, it is fascinating. They reached the interrogation chamber, a stark room with metal chairs and monitoring equipment. Vera took her place across from Ben while Commander Zek operated the recording devices. Tell us about human military forces, Vera began. How many ships do you have? What weapons do you possess? How many soldiers can your species field in battle? Ben considered the questions carefully. I can tell you what is public knowledge among my people. Humans have space-based defensive platforms and a modest fleet of ships designed primarily for exploration and research. Our military is organized mainly for peacekeeping and protection against natural disasters rather than conquest. You lie, Zek interrupted harshly. Our intelligence shows that humans wage constant war among themselves. Your history is filled with conflict and violence. That is true, Ben admitted sadly. Humans have fought many wars throughout our history, and we continue to struggle with conflicts even today. However, we have learned from our mistakes. Most of our current military resources are dedicated to preventing wars rather than fighting them. Vera studied the human's face for signs of deception but found none. Either Ben was an exceptional liar, or he truly believed what he was saying. Explain how creatures that wage constant war can claim to be peaceful, she demanded. Ben was quiet for a moment, clearly thinking about how to answer. Princess, may I ask you about your own people? Have the Krillians always been united under one government? Of course not, Vera replied without thinking. My ancestors fought for generations to unite the scattered tribes into our current empire. Then you understand, Ben said gently. Humans are young as a spacefaring species. We are still learning to work together instead of fighting each other. Our wars taught us the cost of conflict, and now we try to find better ways to solve our problems. Something about the way Ben spoke made Vera uncomfortable. He did not sound like the savage predator described in their intelligence reports. Instead, he seemed thoughtful and genuinely concerned about preventing violence. Your scientists study warfare, Zek accused. You develop new weapons and methods of destruction. Some do, Ben agreed. But most of us study medicine, engineering, agriculture, and ways to improve life for all people. I personally research methods to clean polluted environments and restore damaged ecosystems. Before Vera could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the ship. A young officer burst into the chamber with urgent news. Princess, we have an emergency in Engineering Section 12. There has been an accident, and Engineer Cole is badly injured. The medical team cannot reach him because of the damage to the corridor. Vera stood quickly. Cole was one of her best engineers and a personal friend from childhood. What happened? A power coupling exploded during routine maintenance. The blast damaged the surrounding area and trapped Engineer Cole under heavy debris. He is conscious but losing blood rapidly. The medical team says they need at least an hour to clear the passage safely. Cole does not have an hour, Vera said grimly. She turned to Zek. Continue the interrogation. I must deal with this emergency. As Vera started toward the door, Ben spoke up. Princess, may I offer assistance? I have medical training, and I might be able to help until your doctors arrive. Vera stopped and stared at him. You are our prisoner. Why would you want to help one of my people? Because someone is injured and needs help, Ben replied simply. That is reason enough. The answer was so unexpected that Vera found herself speechless for several seconds. Finally, she made a decision that surprised even herself. Very well. Come with me, but understand that if you attempt anything suspicious, you will be killed immediately. They rushed through the ship to Engineering Section 12, where a crowd of Krillian workers and medical personnel waited outside a damaged corridor. Smoke drifted from the opening, and the sound of groaning metal indicated that the structure was unstable. Dr. Moss, the chief medical officer, approached them quickly. Princess, the situation is worse than we initially reported. The debris has shifted, and Engineer Cole is now completely pinned. We cannot safely extract him without risking a complete collapse that would kill him instantly. What are his injuries? Ben asked, stepping forward. Dr. Moss looked uncertainly at Vera, who nodded for him to answer. Severe crush injuries to his left leg and possible internal bleeding. He is conscious but weakening rapidly. May I speak with him? Ben requested. Dr. Moss activated a communication device, and Cole's voice came through weakly. Princess, is that you? I am sorry about the accident. The power coupling was unstable, and I made an error in judgment. Do not worry about apologies now, old friend, Vera replied. We are working to get you out safely. Ben stepped closer to the communicator. Cole, my name is Ben. I am here to help. Can you describe exactly what you are feeling? Any pain, numbness, or difficulty breathing? Who is this? Cole asked weakly. The voice sounds strange. He is a human prisoner with medical knowledge, Vera explained. Answer his questions. For the next several minutes, Ben spoke with Cole, asking detailed questions about his condition. Ben also examined the structural damage and discussed the situation with the Krillian engineers. I have an idea, Ben announced finally. The debris cannot be moved safely from above, but there might be another approach. If we can access the service tunnel that runs parallel to this corridor, we might be able to reach Cole from the side. That tunnel is too small for our rescue equipment, Dr. Moss objected. But it might be large enough for a person carrying basic medical supplies, Ben pointed out. I could crawl through the tunnel, reach Cole, and provide emergency treatment until the main passage is cleared. Chief Engineer Vin shook his head. The tunnel is severely damaged and unstable. Anyone attempting to crawl through it would be taking an enormous risk. Even if they reach the injured person, they might not be able to return. Someone has to try, Ben said firmly. Every minute we wait, Cole's condition gets worse. Vera felt a strange sensation in her chest. This human prisoner was volunteering to risk his life to save a Krillian engineer he had never met. Nothing in her experience had prepared her for such behavior from a captured enemy. Why would you do this? She asked Ben directly. Cole is not your friend or your responsibility. If you die in that tunnel, no one will mourn your loss except perhaps your own people, who are not here to see your sacrifice. Ben looked at her with those strange human eyes that seemed to hold depths she did not understand. Princess, when someone is hurt and I have the ability to help them, their species or nationality does not matter. Cole is a living being who deserves the chance to survive. If I can give him that chance, then I must try. The words hit Vera like a physical blow. Everything her father had taught her about strength and conquest suddenly seemed hollow and empty. This human, who should have been filled with hatred for his captors, was offering to risk everything to save one of them. "The decision is yours, Princess," Commander Zek said quietly. "Though I must point out that sending the prisoner into the tunnel serves no strategic purpose for our empire." Vera looked around at her people. She saw Dr. Moss holding medical equipment he could not use, Engineer Vin calculating structural stress that threatened their friend, and a dozen other crew members who wanted to help but could not find a way. Then she looked at Ben, who waited calmly for her decision. "Do it," she decided. "But I am going with you." "Princess, that is not advisable," Dr. Moss protested. "The risk is too great." "The risk is mine to take," Vera replied. "Prepare the medical supplies. We leave immediately." As the crew prepared equipment for the dangerous rescue attempt, Vera found herself watching Ben carefully. He checked the medical supplies with practiced efficiency and studied the tunnel schematics without showing any fear of the danger ahead. For the first time since she had captured him, Vera began to wonder if everything she knew about humans might be completely wrong. The service tunnel entrance was barely wide enough for one person to crawl through. Ben knelt at the opening and examined the damaged passage with a small light while Princess Vera watched beside him. The metal walls showed stress fractures, and pieces of debris blocked sections of the route. "The tunnel extends about 50 meters before reaching the area where Cole is trapped," Engineer Vin explained nervously. "The structural damage gets worse as you go deeper. We estimate you have perhaps 30 minutes before the entire section becomes too unstable to survive." Ben nodded and secured the medical pack to his back. "That should be enough time if we move carefully and do not waste any movements." Dr. Moss handed him additional supplies. "These injection devices will help control the bleeding and reduce pain. The scanner will show you the extent of his injuries. Remember that Krillian blood pressure is different from human blood pressure, so use the blue settings on all equipment." "Understood," Ben replied. He looked at Princess Vera, who was preparing to follow him into the tunnel. "Princess, I appreciate your desire to help, but this passage is very narrow and dangerous. You would be more useful coordinating the rescue efforts from here." Vera's 4 arms crossed in a gesture that Ben was learning meant determination among her people. "I am coming with you, human. Cole is my friend and my responsibility. A leader does not send others into danger while remaining safe." "Very well," Ben agreed. "But I will go first to test the stability of each section. Follow exactly where I go, and if I signal for you to stop or retreat, do so immediately." The first 20 meters of the tunnel were difficult but manageable. Ben crawled forward on his hands and knees, testing each surface before putting his full weight on it. Behind him, Vera moved with surprising grace for someone wearing formal royal attire. "How do you remain so calm?" Vera asked as they paused at a section where fallen debris nearly blocked their path. "Are all humans this fearless in dangerous situations?" Ben considered the question while examining the safest route through the obstacles. "I am not fearless, Princess. I am quite frightened actually. But fear becomes useful when it helps us make better decisions rather than preventing us from taking necessary action." "Your voice does not sound frightened," Vera observed. "Would it help Cole if I screamed and panicked?" Ben asked with a slight smile as he carefully moved a piece of twisted metal out of their way. "Fear is a feeling, not a behavior. I can feel afraid while still doing what needs to be done." They continued through the tunnel as the damage grew progressively worse. Several times they had to find alternate routes when sections had collapsed completely. Ben's smaller size proved advantageous in navigating the tight spaces, but Vera's additional arms helped her maintain stability in the difficult passages. "Ben," Cole's voice came through the communication device. "I can hear you moving in the tunnel nearby. Thank you for coming to help me. I know this is very dangerous for you." "Save your strength, Cole," Ben replied. "We are almost there." "How are you feeling right now?" "The pain in my leg is getting worse, and I feel very tired. Something warm is spreading under my back, which I think means the bleeding has increased." Ben and Vera exchanged worried glances. Internal bleeding was a serious complication that required immediate attention. "We are going to reach you very soon," Ben promised. "Try to remain still and conserve your energy." The final section of tunnel proved to be the most challenging. A major structural beam had fallen at an angle, creating a narrow space that required them to squeeze through sideways. Ben went first, pushing the medical equipment ahead of him while Vera provided additional light from behind. "Stop," Ben said suddenly as he noticed something ahead. "Princess, look at the ceiling above where Cole is trapped." Vera moved up beside him and saw what had caught his attention. A massive piece of machinery was suspended above the injured engineer, held in place by a single damaged support beam. If that beam failed, the machinery would crush Cole instantly. "The situation is worse than we thought," Vera whispered. "Any vibration or movement might cause that beam to break." Ben studied the scene carefully, analyzing the structural stress and possible solutions. "We need to stabilize that machinery before we can safely treat Cole. Do you have any emergency support equipment we can use?" Vera checked her supplies and found several collapsible braces designed for emergency repairs. "These might work, but someone will have to position them very carefully while standing directly under the dangerous area." "I will do it," Ben said without hesitation. "That is not acceptable," Vera protested. "If the machinery falls while you are positioning the supports, you will be killed instantly. I should be the one to take that risk. With respect, Princess, your people need you alive. I am expendable in this situation. More importantly, my smaller size and weight create less vibration when I move." Before Vera could argue further, Ben was already crawling toward the opening that led to Cole's location. He moved with extreme care, testing each movement to ensure he did not create any destabilizing forces. Cole lay pinned under heavy debris with the massive machinery suspended above him like a sword waiting to fall. His gray skin had taken on a pale color that indicated serious blood loss, and his breathing was shallow and rapid. "Hello, Cole," Ben said softly as he emerged from the tunnel. "I am Ben. I am here to help you." "You are the human prisoner," Cole said weakly. "Why are you risking your life to save me?" "We are enemies." "We are not enemies," Ben replied firmly as he began unpacking medical supplies. "We are strangers who have not had the opportunity to become friends yet." Ben worked quickly but carefully, scanning Cole's injuries while simultaneously positioning the emergency supports under the threatening machinery. Each movement had to be precise to avoid triggering a collapse. "The scan shows significant damage to your left leg and internal bleeding in your abdominal area," Ben explained as he prepared the medical injections. "I am going to give you something for the pain and to help control the bleeding." "Will I survive?" Cole asked. "If we work together and follow the treatment plan, yes," Ben answered confidently. "But I need you to help by staying conscious and following my instructions exactly." As Ben administered the emergency medical treatment, Princess Vera watched from the tunnel entrance. She could see that every movement Ben made was calculated to help Cole while minimizing any risk to the precarious structural situation. The human worked with a combination of knowledge, skill, and genuine care that impressed her deeply. "Ben," she called softly, "the medical team reports they are making progress clearing the main corridor. We might have rescue equipment here within 20 minutes. "Good news," Ben replied while adjusting the emergency supports. "Cole, your vital signs are stabilizing. The medication is working, and the bleeding has decreased significantly." "Thank you," Cole whispered. "I do not understand why you are helping me, but I am grateful." "You do not need to understand," Ben said gently. "You only need to focus on getting better." Suddenly, the damaged support beam above them made a loud cracking sound. Ben looked up and saw new fractures spreading across the metal surface. The beam was failing faster than expected. "Princess, the situation is becoming critical," Ben called to Vera. "The main support will not hold much longer. Can you move Cole to safety?" Vera asked urgently. Ben examined the debris trapping Cole's legs and the position of the emergency supports. Not without triggering an immediate collapse. But I have an idea. Ben began repositioning the emergency braces in a new configuration, creating a protective cage around Cole's upper body. If the machinery fell, the braces might deflect it enough to prevent fatal injuries. What are you doing? Cole asked with growing alarm as he saw Ben's plan. I am making sure you survive even if the worst happens, Ben explained calmly. These supports will protect you when the rescue team arrives. But what about your own protection? Vera called from the tunnel. Ben was quiet for a moment as he made the final adjustments to the protective structure. There is not enough equipment to protect both of us effectively. Cole needs it more than I do. No, Cole protested weakly. I will not allow you to sacrifice yourself to save me. It is not a sacrifice, Ben replied. It is a choice. And it is the right choice. The support beam cracked again, louder this time. Ben quickly finished his preparations and moved to the most dangerous position, directly under the machinery, where he could maintain the protective structure if it shifted. Ben, get out of there immediately, Vera ordered with growing panic. I cannot leave while Cole is still in danger, Ben said firmly. But do not worry about me. Humans are surprisingly difficult to kill. At that moment, they heard the sound of heavy equipment approaching through the main corridor. The rescue team had broken through faster than expected. Rescue team to Princess Vera, came a voice over the communicator. We are in position and ready to begin extraction procedures. You hear that, Cole? Ben said with relief. The cavalry has arrived. But even as rescue equipment began stabilizing the area from outside, the damaged beam above them gave its final warning crack. Ben looked up and saw the metal beginning to separate completely. Everyone hold on, he called out as he braced himself to maintain the protective structure around Cole. The massive machinery fell with tremendous force, striking the emergency supports that Ben had so carefully positioned. The protective cage held, deflecting the worst of the impact away from Cole, but the secondary debris struck Ben directly. Ben! Vera screamed as she saw him disappear under falling metal and twisted equipment. The rescue team worked frantically to stabilize the area and extract both injured persons. Within minutes, they had cleared enough debris to reach Cole, who was unconscious but alive thanks to the protection Ben had created. Finding Ben took longer. He was buried under heavy wreckage, and the rescue team had to work carefully to avoid causing additional injuries. When they finally reached him, he was unconscious and badly hurt but still breathing. Get them both to medical immediately, Vera ordered as the rescue team prepared to move the injured. Dr. Moss worked frantically to treat both patients as they were transported to the medical center. Cole's condition was serious but stable, while Ben had sustained multiple injuries from the falling debris. How is the human? Vera asked anxiously as she watched the medical team work. Critical but stable, Dr. Moss replied. He has several broken bones and significant bruising, but no life-threatening internal injuries. He was very fortunate. Fortunate? Vera questioned. He was nearly killed saving one of my people. Yes, Dr. Moss agreed. And that action probably saved his life. The protective position he took actually shielded him from the worst of the impact. Hours later, Vera sat beside Ben's medical bed as he slowly regained consciousness. His human face was bruised and swollen, but his eyes were alert and aware. Princess, he said softly. How is Cole? Did he survive? He is alive and recovering well, Vera replied. The doctors say he will make a complete recovery thanks to your quick medical treatment and the protective structure you built. Ben smiled despite his obvious pain. That is good news. I was worried about him. Vera studied this remarkable human who had risked everything to save a stranger. Ben, I must ask you something. You knew that staying to protect Cole might cost you your life. You knew that your own people were not here to witness your actions. You knew that saving Acrylion would not benefit you in any way. Why did you do it? Ben considered her question carefully before answering. Princess, When you see someone who needs help, do you ask what advantage it will bring you before deciding whether to help them? Of course, Vera replied automatically. Every action must serve a strategic purpose, or it is wasted effort. Then we see the world very differently, Ben said gently. I helped Cole because he needed help. No other reason was necessary. Vera felt something fundamental shifting in her understanding of the universe. Your species confuses me greatly. Our intelligence described humans as violent predators who would destroy anything weaker than themselves. Instead, I find someone who nearly died protecting his supposed enemy. Your intelligence was not entirely wrong, Ben admitted. Humans can be violent and destructive. We have done terrible things to each other and to other species on our planet. But we also have the capacity for great kindness and self-sacrifice. Both aspects exist within us. Which aspect is stronger? Vera asked. That depends on the situation and the choices we make, Ben replied. Every day, every human decides whether to act with kindness or cruelty, whether to help or to harm. Most of us try to choose kindness when we can. Over the following days, as both Ben and Cole recovered from their injuries, Vera spent considerable time talking with the human prisoner. She learned about human culture, history, and philosophy in ways that her intelligence reports had never captured. Ben spoke honestly about human failures and shortcomings, but also about their constant efforts to become better. We are not perfect, Ben explained during one of their conversations. But we are always trying to improve. Each generation attempts to be more peaceful, more just, and more compassionate than the one before. And do you succeed? Vera asked. Sometimes, Ben said with a sad smile. Progress is slow and difficult, but it does happen. We have fewer wars now than in our past. We treat each other with greater equality. We protect our environment better than we once did. Small steps, but they add up over time. When Cole was finally well enough to visit, he brought disturbing news from the rest of the ship. Princess, the crew is talking about the humans' actions, he reported. Many of them are asking questions about our plans to conquer the human world. What kind of questions? Vera asked. They wonder if creatures capable of such selfless behavior deserve to be conquered rather than befriended. They question whether our intelligence about human nature was accurate or complete. Vera nodded thoughtfully. She had been struggling with the same questions herself. There is more, Cole continued. Word of what happened has reached other ships in our fleet. Several captains have requested permission to speak with you about the human prisoner and his actions. That evening, Vera made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. She called an assembly of her senior officers and key crew members in the main conference chamber. Ben, still recovering from his injuries, was brought to the meeting under guard. My friends, Vera began, we came to this system believing we understood the nature of the human species. Our intelligence described them as savage predators who represented a threat to galactic peace and stability. She gestured toward Ben, who stood calmly despite being surrounded by alien soldiers. This human prisoner has demonstrated behavior that contradicts everything we thought we knew about his people. He has shown courage, compassion, and self-sacrifice in service of those who were supposed to be his enemies. Commander Zek stepped forward. Princess, the actions of one individual do not necessarily represent an entire species. This human might be an exception to the general pattern of his people. Perhaps, Vera agreed. Or perhaps our understanding of humans has been fundamentally flawed from the beginning. She walked to the center of the chamber so that all could see her clearly. I have decided to suspend our invasion plans pending a complete re-evaluation of human civilization. We will establish formal contact with human authorities and attempt diplomatic communication rather than military conquest. The announcement caused considerable discussion among the assembled officers. Many supported the princess's decision, while others questioned the wisdom of changing strategy based on limited information. What of our orders from the Emperor? Commander Zek asked. We were sent to conquer this system and add it to our empire. I will take full responsibility for this decision when we return home, Vera replied firmly. If my father chooses to punish me for pursuing peace instead of war, that is a consequence I will accept. Ben stepped forward respectfully. Princess, may I make a suggestion? Speak freely, Vera invited. Rather than changing your entire strategy based solely on my actions, perhaps you could allow a small diplomatic team to visit Earth. Let them observe human society directly and make their own judgments about our species. That would provide you with much better information than you can gain from any single individual. A wise proposal, Vera agreed. Commander Zek, prepare a diplomatic mission to the human homeworld. We will approach them openly and honestly, seeking understanding rather than conquest. In the weeks that followed, first contact between humans and Krillians proceeded more smoothly than anyone had dared hope. Human leaders, initially fearful of the massive alien fleet, were amazed by the Krillian decision to pursue diplomacy over warfare. The story of Ben's actions spread quickly through both civilizations, becoming a symbol of the potential for friendship between species. Princess Vera personally led the diplomatic mission to Earth, where she was received with honor and curiosity rather than fear and hostility. She met with human leaders, scientists, and ordinary citizens, learning about their culture and sharing knowledge about the Krillian Empire. Your species continues to surprise me, she told Ben during their final conversation before his return to Earth. The more I learn about humans, the more I realize how wrong our initial assumptions were. What will you tell your father the Emperor? Ben asked. I will tell him that humans are not killers but potential heroes, Vera replied. I will tell him that strength comes not from conquering others but from protecting them. I will tell him that we found something more valuable than another conquered world, we found allies who might help us become better than we were before. Ben smiled. And what if he does not agree with your assessment? Then I will continue believing in what I have seen with my own eyes, Vera said confidently. One human showed me that everything I thought I knew about strength, courage, and honor was incomplete. That lesson is worth any price I might have to pay. The formal alliance between humans and Krillians was signed 6 months later, marking the beginning of a new era in galactic politics. The empire that had conquered 12 star systems through force chose instead to expand through friendship and mutual cooperation. Princess Vera became the first Krillian ambassador to Earth, working tirelessly to build understanding between their peoples. And somewhere in the vast cosmos, other alien species began to hear stories about the humans who turned enemies into friends, who chose to heal rather than harm, and who proved that true strength lay not in the power to destroy but in the courage to save.